Afternoon. I'll say good when we win this. My name is Lameshia Whittington Kaminsky. That's Lameshia. And I am the democracy campaigner for Friends of the Earth, but I am here as a North Carolina born and raised citizen. We have just heard from Adrian, Shalonda, Reverend Fisher, and other citizens about some of the impacts brought by Hurricane Florence, such as the 7 million gallons of untreated swine feces that were unleashed into floodwaters and waterways, which can cause kidney problems, vomiting, fatigue, stomach problems, skin infections, and other issues. The coal ash releases from 5 Duke Energy coal ash dumps in the Neuse River, which have caused arsenic levels to be nearly 18 times higher than the state safety standard for drinking water. It is a shame. It is clear to see that communities who are most impacted by this destruction are disproportionately low-income communities and communities of color who are already burdened by decades of pollution. So we are here to say that Hurricane Florence and Matthew before it are not just natural disasters. They are the logical outcome of a society that believes certain people and lands are expendable. And this is simply unacceptable.
That's right.
The destruction that we are witnessing is the product of a broken political and economic system, a system based on the political marginalization of poor and minority communities, along with a government that is captured by powerful polluting interests.
All right now.
It is this broken system that prevented North Carolina from tackling climate change and stopping pollution at its source. It is this broken system and not Mother Nature that has given rise to these unspeakable suffering and disaster we see today. That is why the organizations before you today and the citizens today demand not only immediate resources right now for disaster relief, but real solutions that address the root causes of this disaster.
Yeah, that's right.
First, as the General Assembly convenes today, we are here to reinforce the breaking news that there was an approved amount for hurricane relief, and it is the right decision, but we need that money now. We don't need them to wait and to dally. North Carolina is in a strong financial position to provide survivors, their cities, and counties with the supplemental financing for hurricane recovery. We have a record $2 billion in our rainy day fund and a $500 million unappropriated balance from the state's final budget. However, put it back. There's a legislatively imposed limit on the rainy day fund. The state's annual expenditures cannot exceed 7.5% of the previous year's operating budget. Now, I've said this before, but we all know a storm does not operate on a limit. It doesn't stop for 7.5%. All right? We demand that the House and Senate override this legislative limitation today on the rainy fund in order to fully fund Florence recovery needs. And we demand these funds be made accessible directly to the communities, community organizations, and churches that have been providing relief to their communities this entire time. When we discuss resiliency, we don't need another Hurricane Matthew where we are promised the funds, but we don't see it. We want a plan for the allocation, okay? Because we know, Matthew, that money was proposed. It isn't money approved. And money approved isn't always money dispersed to the communities most in need, all right? Third, and I will go into my conclusion, but third, we demand that corporations, especially those whose irresponsible behavior exacerbated this disaster, contribute their fair share to the recovery and to our state's health long term. All right, Smithfield Foods, I'm gonna call them out. Murphy Farms, DuPont, Duke Energy, and Dominion Power must make a significant financial contribution to the state's disaster relief fund. And if the governor and the state are calling for donations from the public, these corporations should be first in line. We also demand that the General Assembly roll back these corporate tax cuts scheduled for January 2019 to ensure that these companies are paying their fair share of the long-term recovery. And these corporations I've already mentioned And the General Assembly and the elected officials who support them have been back home giving them political cover that they need to put these industrial toxic sites in our backyards at the expense of black, brown, and working class people. And we demand that these communities commit to present viable plans to the community to remove concentrated animal feeding operations, hog lagoons, and coal ash deposits. As I go into my conclusion, for our listeners today, you can help too. Today we have an on-hand petition that lists our demands, the ones I just listed. Please sign it. We will also have an online version of the petition later today for our viewers to sign at justflorencerecovery.org. It'll be later today, justflorencerecovery.org. Stand with these citizens today in signing this petition to be sent directly to your representatives. Finally, Friends of the Earth and other organizations before are ready to make our own commitments. We pledge to not only continue our community-based relief and recovery efforts, but to be vigilant for those who would seek to profiteer from this disaster or use it as a way of worsening racial and economic disparities or rolling back democratic, environmental, and labor rights. We also commit to fixing the broken economic and political system that made this hurricane so much deadlier and dangerous than it actually should have been. In conclusion, that means fighting the 6 deeply unconstitutional amendments up for vote this November. All right? Why? It's because including an amendment there is to reduce the income tax rate means we would prevent the state from raising resources for long-term recovery. It also means helping to build towards a just recovery in North Carolina. It is time to rebuild our communities in a way that creates thriving local economies and one that gives communities the ability to rebound and be resilient after the climate disaster. And with $2 billion, there is no excuse. Finally, we must fight for our communities and our fellow North Carolinians. We already know from storms in the past that this recovery effort will not be a short-term solution, but one of long-term endurance. We must stand alongside our neighbors. If one family hurts, we all hurt. If waters in eastern North Carolina are poisoned, all our water is poisoned. This doesn't stop until we demand change, and we cannot stop fighting for 1 second. It is true we cannot stop natural disasters, but today and forevermore we can take a stand against man-made disasters. It is time to stand with your neighbors today and every day. We demand change.
All right, give everybody a hand clap for that. Thank you. All right, so one and all.